What is up, sexy people? It is Dave. It is Duncan. Back.
Hold me now! Sorry. Creed stopped in the charts. It's 2002 all over again. I'm there for it.
Could you keep your Creed outbursts
My sacrifice!
till after this recording? Welcome. We're back for another album review. And for this review, we've been checking out the new release from Portland, Oregon, Menaces, Stress Test.
Who are a Creed cover band. Aren't they? No? The wrong Stress Test?
The band's new album, Stress Test, will be released on February 28th via Transylvanian Recordings.
Album? Question mark. In quotes.
The debut album from Stress Test.
Why are we doing this, Dave? Why are we doing question marks in the air quotes and all the rest?
We'll get to that. Sharing current and former members with notable metal acts such as goth rock heavy metalers Unto Others and Black Death outfit Druth. Stress Test made their official debut on July 15th, 2024 with their first offering, Bastard Behaviour, 2 blistering tracks and 1 music video from their upcoming self-titled record.
The Ruth is on fire. No.
What is
in
wrong with you?
Honestly.
The band began as a side project of Unto Others bassist and backup vocalist Brandon Hill during the peak of the pandemic lockdowns in the US. Originally a solo outlet for creative energy and mental anguish at a time where everyone was locked inside, absorbing a barrage of manufactured outrage and the worst of humanity on constant display, the band officially came together years later in early 2024, rounded out by fellow Unto Others bandmate Colin Vranizan on drums, followed by Dylan Morris from Iron Scepter and ex-Druth, and Adam Jennings. Rooted in as much Os Rotten-styled hardcore, punk and Napalm Death-style grind as they are in thrash metal, the band managed to carve out a bleak and aggressive sound of their own. Lyrically, Brandon says the record documents an ongoing struggle to maintain a positive and hopeful outlook on humanity and its future. All of the songs on it are reflections of times where I failed to do that. Life wouldn't be worth living at all if we were filled only with misery. My own has had plenty of pleasure to go with the pain so far, but with Stress Test, I'm motivated by all of the hours and days and years that leave you demoralised and disgusted with the world, or especially with yourself. The album was recorded and mixed by Gabe Johnson at Falcon Studios, has worked with Unto Others and Hoaxed, and mastered by the great and legendary Brad Boatwright at Audio Siege.
We love you, Brad.
Brad, you're the man. So, an 11-track album that runs for approximately 17 minutes and 46 seconds.
Some people would say that's an extended play.
Some people might, Duncan.
Some might say, I'm not doing the rest.
No. But for this review, we're going to call it an album. And at 17 minutes, 46 seconds, I'll take that call, Duncan.
You will take that call any day of the week. What's that you're selling me? For 17 minutes, I will listen to your pitch.
Yeah. And I know you will take that call. What did you think of Stress Test?
I may have put my cards a little bit early on the table here because I've never played poker before and I don't know you're not supposed to show them to the opposing person. I said to you just before we hit record on this one, I was very eager to do this. The reason behind it is I think this is fucking bitching. Right. Couple of things. Before I even hit play on this,
right?
Before I even hit just the artwork, which I love. It's all hand drawn and very 90s. Very Beavis and Butthead. I was just like, this is fucking amazing. Before I hit play on this, I was thinking to myself, please just be nasty hardcore punk, please.
All right, okay.
Stress Test. I was like Stress Test. The name, the album art, just be that. And Boiling Point kicks in with essentially the Sims of like if you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s watching Cops. It's kind of what it sounds like, right? So it's just, not the bed, boys' bed, but not that. Like the actual sound of someone being arrested for no other reason than breathing.
Yeah.
And then we just really kind of like throat punch like this fucking album, and it does not for 1 second let the fuck up. There ain't let's play a slow track. Let's bring the mood down. We have 18 minutes to play for, and we will squeeze every goddamn bastard and fucking riff in here. I knew before you even said anything here that there was either a bass player behind the desk or behind the songwriting. Do you know why I say that?
Why'd you say that, Duncan?
This is a bass-driven motherfucker, right? The bass work on this is fucking bitchin'. Like, the bass just sounds so fucking, just like nasty, tight, and metallic. Right. Like, there's no point to going track by track. The reason there's no point to going track by track is none of them are long enough. Like, by the time it takes me to name the track and do a sentence, the track is finished and we're on to the next one. There are a few tracks that run a bit longer, and actually, I'm trying to remember, we covered a band maybe 2 years ago-ish, who were a kind of fucking nasty hardcore punk band who had a similar length album, and I think all the tracks were under a minute, apart from like 2 or 3. And it was the same sort of idea. Those tracks that run 2 or 3 allow the band to give you a little bit more of something, whether it's, you know, like an interlude that's kind of interesting, or an additional musical element, or like a groove that's really nasty and you kind of want to sit in it for 30 seconds as opposed to finish the song off. Notwithstanding those tracks, everything here is very, very direct, but the band like 100% show the influence on the sleeve. This is thrash, this is punk, this is speed metal, this is hardcore, and it's wrapped up, and it's not... The other thing about it is there's no 2 songs side by side here that are the same, but they're all ferocious as fuck. Like, that's the one thing they've got, is they don't waste time. There is no 1, 2, 3, 4, like, there's no one counting in the track at the beginning here. It's like right in. There's no let's like here have an introduction to the riff and then we'll play. Everything is just urgent and necessary and right to the point. It is a stress test. The name of the band is perfect for that. And lyrically, they're covering a ton of subject matter, which bands like this tend to cover, but I just found that it meant more here. I felt the urgency of it.
Yeah.
The production on this is fucking impeccable. Is nasty as fuck. It reminded me a little bit of Scottish hardcore punk metal band Pest Control, who we saw. When did we see them?
Pest Control. I don't think they're Scottish, but we
I
saw
thought they
them.
were from Dundee. Are they not?
No.
Have I just made that up?
Like so.
Pest Control, claimed by Scotland,
with
Scottish
Obituary,
now.
It's all Obituary.
Was it with Obituary? They're Scottish now. Pest Control reminded me a bit of that, where like you just got like this great mix of kind of hardcore punk and thrash just infused together. Stress Tests are like that, but just better produced and like clearly much more American. Like in terms of their influences, you can hear that wave of 90s hardcore in here for sure. You can hear that wave of kind of late 80s, early 90s speed metal and thrash metal. Vocally scathing. Like absolutely scathing. See, if this guy was wearing a balaclava and came into my bank and screamed and asked for money, he wouldn't even need a gun, Dave. He'd be walking out with them. Here, have the safe, have my watch. It's not a Rolex, but let's pretend it is. It's just... And how do you describe, like, for an album that's so angry, it is, like, damn near impossible not to smile at and headbang all the fucking way through it. And it's cheekily written as well. Like, even when you're listening to, I think it's the aforementioned Stress Test. I think it's the title track on this one. It has this huge, like, colossal build-up, and then for all of 15 seconds gives you this total Slayer-esque and you're like, oh, that right, but it's 15 seconds and like, nope. And that's kind of the band. It's almost schizophrenic, but in the best possible way. They don't waste any space here. It is all linking up things that reminded me a little bit of last year we did we reviewed the kind of hardcore punk offering of Yigny from Blood Command, Rat something. can't remember. Rat something.
Rat Lord?
Rat Band from Dundee. Everyone's from Dundee.
It was Rat Lord or something, was it? No?
Rat Lord or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And what I said in that one was like it was just like every second of that sounded vital. Sounded like like if you shake a bottle of fizzy juice and you hand it to someone and they start to open it, that kind of I've almost opened it. That waiting for something to explode. Yeah. This album is that moment of waiting for something to explode. It's on the fucking edge of like an explosion. It's on the edge of the Twin Towers coming down. It's that fucking, it's just like there's an anticipation that something fucking horrific is about to happen, and they hold that line all the way right through. It's like it's fucking great. It is Moorish as fuck, and it is under 20 minutes. This is one of the easiest spins I've had in a while to go through. I easily have listened to this about 8 times. And like in between some of the other albums we're listening to in this block, which have been of heavier subject matter, this has been the perfect in between. You can spin this twice in between listening to another album comfortably, and you just feel energized. It's just an energetic, snarly, nasty insert old punk and hardcore influences you can think of. And I see what they're saying about like the Napalm Death influence as well here. There's a snarl and just a brutishness about their sound that is very much in keeping with their style. I will tell you what, Dave. I got to the end of my first listen and I was like, I'm loving it. And if I'm loving it, knowing the man that I will be recording this with, knowing his tastes for over 20 years now, knowing where he comes from, knowing his star sign, knowing how he likes to have long walks on the beach at dusk, never any other time. I was like, if I'm loving this, this guy's fucking loving this as well. I can't imagine for 1 second here stress test didn't pass the smell test with Dave.
Duncan, I was loving this with arms wide open.
Stress test, a cover band from Dundee. Don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on.
All killer, no thriller. Like, let's.
We don't tend to do like a lot of thrash or like crossover stuff. But like when something comes with a mention in the press about like hardcore and crust and punk, I was like, okay, this is in my wheelhouse. Have to check this out. More than happy to get involved in it. Plus the caliber of the band members is also really interesting in that this is from the bassist and drummer of Unto Others, who are much more traditional heavy metal, goth rock side of things. Initially I was like, okay, sounds like it's going to be a bit of a leap. But I'd never heard Brandon's other band. He's got another band called Unhinge. And after hearing that band, the Stress Test now makes a lot more sense. Unhinge are very like kind of grind heavy, kind of hardcore stuff. So like when you start to kind of pull all these kind of styles together of the side projects and other bands, the kind of path to Stress Test feels much more logical. And like, fuck me, like, does this album just not come right out of the gate absolutely
straight
swinging?
Like as soon as the sample finishes, it's like right there.
Yeah, it's like fucking like just 10 hand grenades. The first track is like them pulling the pin basically, and then off it goes. The rest is like mass destruction. But I think the first thing that really grabbed me was just how seriously tight this was. I know like Brandon and Colin are used to playing in Unto Others together, but you can tell there's like a sense of like unity, and like the playing is just super like razor sharp on this, and like a lot of it is kind of does what it says on the tin. It's thrash with hardcore touches of grind and crust, and even little tinges of death metal at times as well. And yeah, you'll hear lots of comparisons. They wear a lot of it on their sleeve. It's got like that kind of power trip, enforced high command, municipal waste, that kind of shell on the modern side, where it just like tears you a new asshole in every single track. But then there's like old school influences coming in the form of like S.O.D or like Disrupt. But then there is like a smidge of like Napalm Death in the faster, like more vicious parts of the album. So like there's lots to like musically. You can't listen to this and not want to just start throwing shit. It's that type of album. Like the energy just stays up at that level the whole time. Vocally though, I think is where I really enjoyed this album most.
Vocals are fucking so good, man.
The Brandon, the vocalist, kind of reminds me. It reminds me a little bit of a guy called Joe Grind, who's in, or this kind of main guy in Toxic Holocaust, where he has this like kind of like hardcore style, but it's got this real like kind of savage kind of grit to it at the same time. Really great character in his voice. It really suits his style down to the ground. On top of that, though, you've got multiple kind of backing vocals coming in, all at different registers as well. So you've got like some kind of guttural stuff, and then you've got these kind of high end kind of shrieks coming in as well. And I think that component of the band is just like done really well. They use those tones and like various kind of vocal styles really effectively on the album. Never like on the vocal front, it was never boring at all. Like there was always something going on. I love Brandon's tone like on its own itself, but when you add in the backing, it's just a really cool attack. Out with the kind of stuff that I mentioned, I really liked what they did on Suffer, which is kind of sitting around the middle of the album. It's the longest track on the release at like 3 minutes. It's like kind of mid-paced and a bit more kind of heavy on the groove. But towards the last kind of third of the track, they introduce some like cleaner, more kind of like haunting kind of type guitars. And that's where I was like, all right, so I could hear a little bit of like an Unto Others kind of almost kind of gothic streak in those guitars. It's only about like 40 seconds.
I was going to say hashtag not for long, Dave.
Exactly, yeah. But it was a really clever way, just kind of breaking things up. Sits nice in the middle of the album, and then allows you to kind of transition through into the second half of the album, which is just absolute carnage. They also utilize the art of the sample on this album, which I love. It used to be a much bigger thing like 20 years ago, but
I don't know when bands stopped doing it, but I think music got boring when that happened.
Yeah,
I love a sample, and I'm not saying that. You go back and listen to our band, almost every track either had a sample or started with a sample.
Yeah.
And yes, some people will say that's because we're old, but fuck you.
Yeah, I love the way Stress Test kind of throw a few of these into the mix. Just again, it's just another tool they use to kind of break the album up and add a bit more kind of personality. I really enjoyed that side of it as well. It's could be the easiest album to repeat spin I've heard in 2025. It like does not overstay. It's like paced absolutely perfectly, and it's just like a ton of like snarl and attitude the whole way through. And it's produced in a way that really kind of enhances the energy and the tightness of the band. I think as hard as this hits on CD, LP, MP3, whatever, I think this is like absolutely built for the live stage. When I was listening to this, I was like, this would be insane. This would be nuts to watch live.
Yeah.
You'd
be fearing for your life if you were at the front.
Yeah. The only thing is they probably did another 17 minutes of it because at the moment, one album.
They just do what Blink-182 did when I saw them on the Enema of the State tour. You play tracks that are realistically 1.5 minutes long and then talk for 5 minutes.
Or just Boys to Men it and do the same track.
Oh, play the opening, close with the same song.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I know this was started as an outlet during lockdown and was like a kind of side project to begin with, but like I really hope this is something they're going to continue to
It's got legs, man. It really does.
Absolutely. Because like for a debut album, this is fucking great. Like this, I have high hopes for this band for sure. Really looking forward to hearing what they continue to do in the future. Okay, so final thing. Stress Test's debut self-titled album. What you scoring this one?
So there's a theme with all my... I loved everything I've listened to this week. This is a 4.5 for me. I genuinely... There's very little, if anything, that I can poke at here at all.
Yeah.
It kind of feels insane, like that this is a debut. Like it genuinely is warping my mind to think it's a debut, but I'll tell you right now, it is absolutely fucking great. And of all the reviews I've done And this group here, if there's one album you listen to, Stress Test is the one, because I think universally, regardless your views on different genres of metal, Stress Test tick pretty much all the boxes. And it's nice and short as well. It's fucking great.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. 4.5 from me as well. Thoroughly enjoyed this and just wanted to respin it basically as soon as it finished. I was like, yep, absolutely. 17 minutes, I'll do that again. Not a problem. Yeah, it's absolutely fire. Like the energy on this album is unbelievable. And that is going to translate into a live stage just absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, hopefully they get over here.
Yeah, that would be great if they make it over this neck of the woods. So Stress Test and their debut album out on February 28th via Transylvanian Recordings. Links below at the band, pre-order, Bandcamp, all that sort of stuff. Check it out, have a listen, see what you think. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is a review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.